Would you mind briefly introducing yourself, your name, your class year, how long you were at Academy, and what you were involved in while you were here?
Yeah, thanks. And good to meet you, Jared. So my name is Stu Harris. I graduated in 1980. I really enjoyed my time at Academy. I was there for all of high school. I was on student court and the swim team and soccer team. And the coolest thing and one of the best things that happened to me, my locker was right next to one of my best friends from high school, who is still one of my best friends, John Warren. And so that is really one of my favorite things about Academy is the friends that I made for life.
That's awesome. What is your current title and place of work?
So thanks. Yeah, I work at Nationwide Insurance. I'm a lawyer there, and I work in property and casualty insurance. And I've been there for 15 years. And I handle all sorts of insurance coverage issues for businesses.
Gotcha. So in just a few sentences, how would you summarize what you do?
So when I took my now grown sons there when they were younger in elementary school, they reported at the dinner table that I look at papers and talk to people, which is kind of true. I read opinions, read policies, study and evaluate the cases, and then we have a conference with multiple team members that work at Nationwide.
Where did you go for your post-academy degrees?
Miami of Ohio and the John Marshall Law School in Chicago.
Did you feel like Academy did a good job of preparing you for both education at undergrad, pre-law track, and also graduate school, law school for you?
Most definitely. And I'll tell you why, and that I might go back to this, but the most important thing, or one of the most important things about Columbus Academy is the superior emphasis on writing. From the day that I started there, the writing program, whether it's language arts or history or foreign languages, to some extent science, not as much in math. Really, we did a lot of writing, and that writing is, as you probably know, something that, like anything in life, the more you practice, the better you are. And the other thing that the Academy teaches you is to look at your own writing and to evaluate your own writing. And especially now, back then, we did most of our writing in blue books. Occasionally, we'd have a typed paper that we'd have to probably write and then find someone in our family to type it. Now, of course, you can write and review your own work many, many times. And the more you do that, the better. But the key answer here is all of the writing that we did at Academy prepared me in such a good way for college, because when you, of course, in college, you do a lot more writing. And then in law school, you do a ton of writing. And so what I learned at Columbus Academy really catapulted me into success at college and law school.
That's really good to hear. So what attracted you to pursuing a career in law? I can kind of imagine from your prior answer that, writing was something that you clearly enjoyed and helped you. But what specifically attracted you to law?
Another best friend, his dad, who was also our Little League baseball coach growing up, he's a lawyer. And so I learned a lot from him. And I also enjoyed the history classes at Columbus Academy. So at Miami of Ohio, I was a political science history major. I had Rainey Taylor for American history and Michael York for several other classes, Russian history, European history. And so I really enjoyed those classes at Miami of Ohio. And, nowadays, Jared, and I'll note this also from our two sons, one in college and one who graduated, I think that there's a lot more pressure on high school students to begin to assess what they want to do in high school, what their job opportunities they might pursue. In the 1980s, that was more of what we did in college. And I think that's been pushed down a little bit. And the point of all that, Jared, is during my time at Miami of Ohio, I continued to, in those political science classes, to take law classes, and then spending time with my best friend's dad, who was our coach, who's a lawyer, put all that together, and I went to law school.
In what ways did Academy help get you where you are today? Was that best friend of yours, was he an Academy kid? Like, did any CA connections help you on your journey?
Yes. So actually, that was my buddy from before I went to academy. So let's say elementary and middle school. And then when we returned after Chicago, I clerked for a federal judge, and we lived in Indiana. And then we decided to move back to Columbus. And so this is 1996. So it's been 15 years since we graduated from high school. But since we, as you know, or you'll learn, or you talk to your dad, because of the close knit student body, you really maintain those friendships for life. And when we moved back, of course, I've always stayed in contact with John Warren, but then several other of my classmates from 1980 were practicing lawyers in Columbus, and they helped me out a lot. So I ended up working for the Ohio Attorney General's office. And several of my classmates were helpful with putting me in touch with some lawyers over at the Ohio Attorney General's office. So yes.
What is the biggest challenge you have faced as a lawyer? So I kind of figure, when you get into your career, maybe getting your feet under you is tough, but it sounds like you had a good network to get you there. But what was the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think what you really want to do, I think it's a challenge that you just need to think about all the time. And you just always want to continue to get better, so the so-called phrase sharpen the saw. So no matter where you are, what you're doing, you can always do better. You can learn more, you can advance, you can take on a new project, and you just gotta, no matter where you are, you just gotta keep doing that. And sometimes I think some of the younger folks, you say keep grinding, and you just gotta keep grinding. And so I think that's really important throughout your career.
What is something that would surprise people about the work you do?
Sometimes the surprise is that it's very, very exciting. Now, sometimes I'm not sure that people think, oh, insurance law, that sounds extremely exciting. I really, really like it. I think it's excellent work. I have great colleagues. I referred to sharpen the saw. I enjoy learning about there's so many different kinds of insurance that get more and more complex. Maritime or aviation insurance, umbrellas and excess, Lloyd's of London, and captive insurance. And so, even with 15 years of experience, I know I can learn more. I can do things that possibly go for work at Lloyd's of London in England and be a lawyer there. So there's always really cool options. And so I think that there's so many opportunities for young people in insurance in Ohio. We are in one of the top states for insurance careers. And it's, there's a spectrum of jobs from underwriters to the sales to marketing claims. And I think it's just a great job.
No, that answer was phenomenal. That's really, really
thank
cool.
you.
You did throw a whole lot of law terms around, and I'm kind of just wondering, are those things you typically learn? Did you learn those things, in preparing yourself for law school, then in law school, or are those more things you learned on the job? Like I heard you mention those umbrellas and things like that.
So I learned that at Nationwide. When I walked in the door, I knew a lot about construction law and construction insurance. However, I had a lot to learn, and I was very fortunate. I had some colleagues at Nationwide that took the time to teach me everything I needed to know, not in one day, not in 1 week, but over the course of the years. And I was very fortunate to have those colleagues and mentors. So I suppose even though you're over 50, you still have mentors and colleagues that can be very helpful.
Right. And now you're probably becoming the mentor for a lot of younger lawyers coming in.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's a really cool way to get to know someone. And as a senior lawyer at Nationwide, I want to do that because I think that you instill in that person your excitement for the material and what you're doing. I feel like when I talk about insurance, since I like it so much, I hope that influences that younger lawyer to also embrace insurance law the way I do.
Kind of more current with the times. Has COVID-19 changed the way you work or the way you go about business? And if yes or if no, how so, or how have you guys been able to, stay the same?
About a year ago, I started teaching a class on insurance at Franklin University, and I took a class on teaching that Franklin University puts on for their adjunct instructors. And so imagine this is like January or February, almost a year ago. And the instructors say, so we're going to teach you about this thing called Zoom. And so we did something like this. And I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. And then now everybody knows what Zoom is. And so my point there is we, again, are very fortunate nationwide. We have a really great technology and IT department. And so we were able to carry forward with our work, much like you and I are talking now. And with the pandemic around St. Patrick's Day of last year, we started working from home and we adopted, and we are currently working from home. But we have our conferences, the look at papers and talk to people, just like we are now, except it sort of looks like it's like many of your Zoom calls you can have 5, 10 or more people on, or just 2 people like we're doing.
Everybody's kind of been seeing importance of flexibility, but how specifically does flexibility pertain to being a lawyer during these times, but also just in general?
Hey, that's a good question. My answer there is something I've read, and it goes something like this: over prepare and then be flexible. And so I've always think I over prepare. And I think that the point that I try and work on is, so if you're over prepared, it allows you to be more flexible because, if you know the 10 things that you need to do, but someone says, well, I have a question about number 5, you're thinking, well, I'm going to go sequentially. Well, you go to number 5 and then you kind of sneak your way back into 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then, so with the over preparation, you can be more flexible.
Obviously, preparedness and the ability to be flexible are key attributes. Are there any other specific characteristics that you think have allowed you to be successful in your field, or that you think just in general that allow people to be successful as a lawyer or in insurance?
It always is very helpful to immensely enjoy what you're doing. And here, insurance is so important to people, and it helps them when they really need help, right? So you have something happens to your automobile or your house, insurance companies are there to help. Or you're in a car accident, you have medical bills. So insurance is there at the most important moments in everybody's life. And so we help people, we manage that. The insurance law can at times be very complex, and we look for the best course of action for our insureds. And when you put all that together, it's a great opportunity. So I think some of the things that I do that I would encourage people to do, you really have to stay ahead of what's happening, to see trends, to read cases. So in other words, if you have 5 conferences or claims that you have to look at, you have 5 core classes, right? And on this given day, I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know this is harder to do in high school because you usually can't do everything before you fall asleep reading whatever book you have to read and wake up in the morning and think, I should have probably not watched the basketball game. I probably should have done a little bit more of this because my class is about to start, and I'm sure wishing that I did that now. So those challenges remain the same. You want to expand your horizons, do better, always challenge yourself. So that's what I try and do.
So then, kind of building on that, for students interested in entering the field of law or insurance, what steps do you recommend they take either as a high schooler or once they're in college?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it's a little bit more challenging now to shadow someone or intern, but we're getting there. We'll work our way through the pandemic here soon with the vaccines. And so there's so many opportunities for young people to intern or spend a day, just let's say that, it sounds exciting to you, insurance, just give me a call and you can come over to Nationwide for the day. And there are formalized internships as well. And more so at Nationwide, we have lots of opportunities for younger people in college and in law school, those internship positions. In fact, as you noted, and we talked about, I like to work with all of those younger lawyers, including law students, and begin to show them how exciting commercial insurance and the whole practice of insurance law is. So get out there and do stuff.
That's wonderful advice. If you could go back and give yourself, your younger self, some advice, what would you tell yourself?
To work harder. Here's a good example. After Miami of Ohio, I worked for 3 years in the U.S. Congress in Washington, D.C. for an Ohio congressman. And that was really cool. Now, at Miami of Ohio, my grades were okay. They were not great until like my junior year when I started thinking, oh, this really have to focus in here. And in order to go to law school, you have to have good grades. And so looking back, I think that it's important to put in the hard work. It's not always fun. John Warren was great at it. I was not. And it counts. Good to read the entire book and not have a collection of cliff notes, like now known as spark notes, like I had. Don't tell anybody. So for me, going back, I would work much harder.
And then is there anything else that you would like to add that we haven't discussed or gone over yet?
I think Columbus Academy is a great place. I learned so much. And like I said, if I would have read all 500 pages of The Deer Slayer by James Fenimore Cooper, I probably would have been better. And I also serve on the Dublin School Board. And so one of my proudest accomplishments there is the summer reading program that we put into place in Dublin, which, of course, I had fond memories of from Columbus Academy. I think the bottom line is no matter what stage you are in life, you got to work hard. You got to keep challenging yourself and never coast. And so I think that's the most important piece of advice I feel like I can have the wisdom to share.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.